Welcome to the Soul Engineering Your Life podcast. I'm Ravi Tangri, your Soul Engineer. I work with business owners, CEOs, and professionals to help them grow their business and get their life back. And this podcast is designed to help you step out of the busyness, out of the crazy, and bring more heart and soul into all of your life.
Papa, something's wrong with the yogurt. I put down my book and head to the kitchen where my 8-year-old son is calling out. What's wrong, dude? What's up with the yogurt? This is one of his favorite snacks. I don't know, Papa. It's all watery. I look at the yogurt and laugh. Up until this week, I was buying a brand of yogurt that had gelatin in it. So when you opened it, it was like a pudding or jello before you stirred it. This week, I started buying a different brand that's healthier and that doesn't have gelatin. So it's more of a liquid. Dude, this is yogurt too, and it's just fine. I explained the difference to him and that there are all types of yogurt and that this type is actually better for you and it tastes the same. As I return to my chair to pick up my book, I think about it and realize that for my son, reality, all that he remembers and knows, is yogurt coming in the gelatinized form. That's the way it's always been, and therefore he thinks that's the way it should be. Something as simple as liquid yogurt is wrong until he gets more information and learns differently. How many of us do that with far bigger things in our lives? Especially as you grow older, you get set in certain ways. You want things the way they feel most familiar. People talk about the comfort zone, but often it's not comfortable. It's just familiar. It's what you know. I've seen coaching clients fight almost irrationally to hold on to toxic situations because they were familiar. For my son, it took just a little information for him to broaden his horizons about what yogurt should be like. There was very little momentum to overcome to break free of his familiar zone and try something new. Without that information, he may not have made the change. For many situations we deal with as grown-ups, there's a lot more momentum and it can take a lot more work. You want a new relationship, but you've got certain ways of doing things. You've built a life for yourself, and rightly so, and go out with friends or to concerts every night to live fully. And then you have no time to go out with someone new because you're committed every night. And then you wonder why you can't find someone. You want to lose weight, but you haven't built up a habit of exercise or of eating the right things. And then you wonder why you keep going back to the same normal weight for you. You want to have financial abundance, but you haven't changed the way you save and spend. It's the same as it's always been. And even though you may have more money than when you were younger, you can still be just as tight, still just not having enough, wondering how you're going to make ends meet. And underneath all of those situations is the internal dialogue you have going, the head chatter or monkey mind about why it's not working out and why it can't work out, and the beliefs that are supporting you staying the same way. Underneath, do you really believe things can change? There's a new year coming, thank goodness, and a time for fresh changes. But if you want to break out of the familiar zone of the past, you have to do the work to change what's holding you in the past. And you need new information, just like my son did. Are your self-image and your internal dialogue about who you've been and the situations you've been in over the past few years? Or are they focused on what you want to manifest? When you're all alone and not posting all the best of the world on Facebook and Instagram, what's going on inside your head? Are you criticizing yourself for what you haven't achieved or celebrating the progress you've made towards your vision? Which one? Today, like any day, is a huge opportunity to change your focus from where you've been, the gelatinized yogurt, to where you want to be, the healthier, free-flowing yogurt. What will determine your success? It's changing your unconscious mind, not your vision or your vision board, or even what you do. And you can start that right now with your focus right now. And you get a new chance, if you slip up, every single instant to start over. Are you ready to start? Check it out, check it out. Oh, are you ready for this? Today, I'm really excited. I've got Osei Xavier with me, who is the manager of the top leading martial arts school in South Florida. John, why is that pronounced? Way?
Wait,
Way.
yeah.
And co-owner of the social media marketing company, F5 Digital Marketing. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We were chatting before that, like many entrepreneurs, you are just as crazy as us in that you are not just running one company, but you're in two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two companies full time and
Full time. Okay.
yeah, basically full time. I mean, especially with the pandemic that happened, the social media. We started a company a little bit ago, but the social media aspect of it really took off just before the pandemic or during the pandemic, where people were just kind of like, "Whoa," I guess they really needed some more social media help, and
Yeah.
going into that, so businesses don't want to lose market share. So we've been that side of my business has been growing like exponentially.
That's interesting. So, have you always been entrepreneurial, or did you ever go the job route?
I did the job route, but I would say like when I was young, my every summer I had a different project. So when I was like I started in elementary school. My art teacher brought in a button making machine. The little clip-on buttons, like the safety pin in the back, and you have the
Yeah.
round button.
Yeah.
And we did it as an art project. I made one, or I made a couple, and then a friend asked me, Ed, that looks great. How much for it? So I sold it to him, and then I started just making more and more of them. That took off, and that
Oh,
was great for
that
some.
idea.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Another summer, I sold mangoes all summer long. So I went around collecting mangoes from other people's trees and set up a little roadside stand, and did that for a while. So those were like initially I had a bike repair thing in my backyard for a little while there too. So I had a few things entrepreneurial like when I was little, but once I got older, leaving college, I tried to go the job route,
Okay.
and yeah, that
Okay.
worked out well, except it came out at the wrong time.
Okay.
It was I came out during the dot-com boom. I mean, it was a great time for it. I was able to get a really good job, decent pay. But then, the bubble burst on that. And when the bubble burst, then I was kind of left out on my own. Um, I didn't want to, I had a severance package, and they said you could stay working for a few months if you wanted to. But I decided to take it all at once and just leave. Just thinking that my destiny should not be tied towards anybody else. I
Okay.
can, and the other thing about being an entrepreneur too, you always think that I can do it better.
Okay. And that's fascinating, though. You made that call then that you are not going to let anyone else rule your destiny.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. That was that clear in that moment.
It was that clear. I mean, I did go going through the motions. I had to take like an odd job here and there for a couple of years, but yeah, I always kept my business going. And if anything, I always wanted to be able to say that I have control of what, my hard work should that be a direct correlation to what I can earn or to what I can do in life, and not have anybody else at at any given time just say like, we don't need you anymore. Bye. And your livelihood is gone.
That's the interesting thing. A lot of people think that running your own business, you'd be so insecure, and yet having the traditional job is perhaps way more, because you look at these times this year, how many people have just been laid off, right? Because they thought they had the job security.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And, unfortunately, I guess people kind of say the hard way, or some people just can't really make that transition. But with this happening, I saw it as an opportunity that, things are changing. And if I am actively changing with it or getting ahead of the curve, then I could come out of this, or we can come out of this being a lot better. Whereas if you had a traditional job, you really had no control. You were floating until your employer said, hey, you can come back, or, you can collect unemployment until something else happens. So, yeah, it's big.
You're not making the decision. So, but when you started out with your own business, you started out in the graphics and in the marketing area, correct?
Right. I mean, back then we didn't really call it marketing online. I think everybody was just, building web pages and making cool things in Adobe Flash and, making like active websites. I don't know if you guys remember that, but they just actually ended Adobe Flash. A lot of websites that didn't upgrade went down. But yeah, that was my main thing, was doing graphics and web design, and during that era. So not so much marketing, just building usability, functionality, trying to get people to get online and start staying on their website for a little bit, make it cool.
So what was it that drew you to that? Why that?
Well, I went to art school for traditional drawing and painting. And while I was there from the very beginning, just thinking ahead, I didn't think I was the best artist. And making a living as an artist, which would be a dream. If I could draw and paint all day and make a living from that, that would be awesome. But I didn't think that was my calling. I think that market is a little more fickle. And it's kind of a lot of people buy the artist, not so much the art.
Right.
So just looking ahead, I had to kind of find something that was creative and that I could apply that you can make money out of. So computers were kind of the new thing. I mean, I don't know well, most of you guys should be a little old enough to remember. So this was like 98 when I graduated. I went to college from 94 to 98. And, computers were very basic back then, but the website was starting to blow up. And I said, this is the field that I think I should be getting into, because I see growth potential in this area. And, I started off with just graphic design. And in college, actually the head of the dean of the design department saw me in there so much. And I actually had a job in there working the graphics counter. Okay. They thought I was one of their students, but I was actually a general fine arts major, which meaning I was doing more drawing and painting than anything else. But I took a couple classes, and as much as I can, I would incorporate computer and computer-aided design into my artwork.
Okay, so that's interesting. So the art drew you for passion, but then you saw the opportunity with the online.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Big time.
Cool. Whereas other people who would have been in that program with you just kept going in art without looking at.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people did stay into the art, which is, that was fine. That was a great path for them. I just knew that for me, that wasn't the path that I could go to. And by the way, I thought they were a lot better artists than me, because I was like, if I could afford their art, I would definitely buy it from them.
But you saw the art and the business coming together. You saw that opportunity. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're moving forward with the web design and such. And at that time, you were already working out, you said, right?
Yeah, I was always physical. I was, always played sports. That was one of the things that my parents kind of knew for me, that to keep me grounded, I had to stay active. I had to have something. So I did sports year round. I did everything from soccer to highlight and everything between football, basketball, a lot of odd ends. So I played sports just about all the time throughout, from elementary all the way through high school. In college, I met up with my first roommate in college was a third degree black belt Taekwondo
Okay.
from Korea. And I always wanted to get into the martial arts. I wanted to do Kung Fu. If you guys remember Saturday Morning Kung Fu, I saw
Totally.
that back in the days. Yes. And I always wanted to get into Kung Fu. And I asked my parents back then to get me into it. They took me to karate. I was like, no, that's not it. They took me to Taekwondo. I was like, no, that's not it either. But so I kind of put that shelf, that notion back, on the back shelf for a while until I met my roommate. And coming from Korea, he kind of showed me a whole different aspect of what like real martial arts look like, and to doing the discipline behind it. Um, we used to do he used to do 50 push-ups every morning, holding his breath, and put a mirror underneath him. So that was one of the regiments I started getting into, and I loved it. So one of the things I did Creed was once I settled down wherever I was going to be after college, I was going to find a kung fu place. And once I graduated, I kind of drifted around for a little bit, but came back to Florida. And I went looking and searching. I tried out a lot of different
Yeah.
martial arts schools. And I finally landed on the one that I'm at, which is John Way. I started off here as
Oh,
a
so you
student.
started right there. That's cool.
Yeah, I started here, and I'm here today.
Okay, so what was it that was different about what your roommate showed you about martial arts? You said that there was, he showed you that different discipline. What was it that drew you into that?
It was the lifestyle. It
Okay.
wasn't just a martial art. It wasn't a cool thing for a belt. It wasn't anything bragging. Like if you did not know him, like if you didn't know his background, you would have never suspected that he was a martial artist. But he could move unbelievably fast. He was very flexible, and he just had a discipline about himself and the way he carried himself that I wanted to emulate. I was like, okay, that is something that I see that I would love to have. Physically, maybe we could run about the same, or doing push-ups, just regular push-ups, we can do it. But holding your breath and doing push-ups, that added a whole new twist for me. 10 minutes, I'm like, so I think it was just how he was able to take the martial arts and fit it into a lifestyle. It became part of him. It became all in one. And
Okay,
that passion for it was what got me to really look into it more.
that's really what you brought into your practice as you got into it once you found John Way.
Yeah, once I found it here at John Way, it wasn't going to be a short-term thing for me. I knew it was going to be something I was going to be dedicated to in the long term. Um, I didn't know it was going to be 20 years here, but I was thinking at least like, a good 4 or 5, maybe 6 years. Um, but I wanted to definitely incorporate it into my lifestyle as far as, a defining factor for me. Like I'm always going to keep training, and I wanted that training to kind of like just, not really show up, but I wanted to help mold my regular everyday life as far as the discipline factor, um, thinking out of the box as far as training goes, and just being a passion, just bringing that passion into my life.
So how did that discipline in your life, how did you see that starting to fold out into your life and express itself? What did either you see different about yourself over the years as you developed that practice, or did others notice about you?
I think one of the things that others start to notice about me as far as that practice of discipline and just the factor of kung fu is one, my flexibility, my flexibility in just in life in general. Like my mindset wasn't very rigid. I would always look for an alternative. If there was a roadblock, or there was something that's happening, we can't do this, then I would always look for an alternative around it. Whereas before, just with me too, it'll be frustrating. I may not want to do it anymore, so you would stop and go someplace else, or figure it out, or, figure something else to do. But with training in the martial arts, one of the things is like, learning a new form or a new technique, you have to be, you have to practice it, not just practice it, but you have to, once you get it down, you have to practice like you really mean it. And then once you practice like you really mean it, what if somebody does something different? So you have to figure out a way to still be able to incorporate that, and get your technique out there, but without, having this one direction. There's another direction or another way of working it out. So I think having that flexibility in my thought patterns of working around problems, figuring out different issues, like I said, for example, like for me, like when getting into martial arts and then the bubble burst, most people said that they would have stayed there. They would have worked for the 3 months, um, and stayed there and worked it out, see what happened.
Yeah.
And I kind of already saw like the writing on the wall. I was like, you know what, this is my chance. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to try take my shot at doing it like this or like that. And
So
even
it
my
really
first year,
contributed to that decision.
yeah, it did help contribute to that decision.
Okay.
And you know, one of the things too is like I knew I was always a hard worker,
Yeah.
and I always believed in just the level of just my dedication to work, and that'll always see me through. And I think getting into the martial arts, you really see that manifest itself. If you're working for somebody else and you're just working hard, yeah, you may see it, you know, or if you're in the gym
Yeah.
and you're doing bodybuilding, you'll see it. But in the martial arts, you see it like as you rise in your ranks or in your techniques. If somebody throws a punch or a kick or something, not even a control, like we would do, you know, free sparring where they throw anything at you and your body just reacts like instantly. So I saw that aspect of it like really, really start to take off, and that was really inspiring for me to keep going and keep growing.
So how did this translate? Now I have asked you about the rest of your life, but specifically in terms of your business and how you did business. How did you find this shifted how you worked in at that time you were doing the web design stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. So one of the biggest realizations for me was, and somebody told me this a long time ago, and it really didn't make sense to me at the time, but then it came back to it. Boring pays the bills.
Okay.
So when I first got, you know, left and got into business, I was like, okay, I'm going to be doing all these cool websites, you know, all these record labels or movie studios. I'm going to be doing stuff like that for those guys, and you know, be super creative, and I get to do what I want. And that didn't happen. And just bringing it back to, like I said, just learning a new technique or developing how to do a jump kick the right way. You have to practice the jumps a million times. Then you
Right.
have to practice jumping and kicking a million times. Then you have to get a little higher. So it really brought that, like I said, that discipline of just saying like, okay, you have to take these steps, step, and not just, you know, keep stepping, but you have to master this section before you go into this section. And understanding that grind and that hard work is what is going to see you through and eventually get you to where you want to be. You know, so don't look too far ahead and look at the flashy kick that you know that you want to have and be disparaged, you know, or be discouraged because you can't do it right now. I understand it's going to take step by step, and you may not get there right now, but it may take you a year, it may take you 2 years. So um, another thing that one of my old instructors said, who's no longer here, he said it may take you 3 months to learn a new form, but
Yes.
it's going to take you 10 years to master it. So you'll learn the movements and you'll be able to do it, but it's only after practicing that form for 10 years that you're actually going to be incorporated into everything that you do. Like you just have it as part of your system, as part of what you do and who you are.
It's in your bones. Like I get it because I'm a dancer. I do salsa swing and all such. And this time, there's different stages. After so much time, it gets in your bones more and more.
Exactly. Yes. I would say the same thing. I'm jealous of you salsa dancers, by the way.
Well, and then you take a class that's in the micro technique. They break it down. You have to unlearn what you know, and then reprogram the better technique, right? Which is like I actually love that when
I
you
love it. That's twice as hard though.
yeah
I'm learning a bad technique and then relearning it. Oh man, that's hard.
yeah yeah. Now, I find that fascinating because so many people aren't willing to do that movie studios and the record labels. You thought that's the 1% of the work that's awesome, but there's that other 99 where you're, as you say, you're honing your craft, and
Right.
it's a perfect analogy to you're not going to get that kick right away. You've got to
Right.
do thousands upon thousands of practice kicks to get there.
Right. The small things. Yes. Yes.
So along this journey, as you're doing the web design, you're still there at John Way, and then you start actually instructing and
Yep.
work. Now you've worked your way up to being the manager at that.
Hmm.
So, and you're saying both are full time?
Yeah. Both full time.
Okay. So here's a question I got for you. Like entrepreneurs love what they do,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
So you love both sides, the martial arts and the design, the social
Yep.
media. They're not always as good on running the business. right? There's different hats. There's doing
Hmm.
the work, and then there's running the business. How do you manage those to be able to change the hats, as Gerber says in the E Myth, to be able to switch to?
It's scheduling your time and blocking your time and understanding and taking breaks between. So, for example, yesterday we had a client that I had to go out. We had to shoot for in the morning, and then in the afternoon I had to come in to run the studio and make sure the team is up to par. So, you wake up, you put on the creative mindset, you go into there. We're shooting some cool videos, some cool images, and whatnot. Then there was about an hour. I make sure I have an hour time frame where I kind of sit, reflect. If I can, I either read or journal in between, and then I come in and I change my hat. And the good thing, or the thing that happened to me, is my team in here, they actually do help me. If I ever come in with the wrong hat on, they are very quick to address and saying, why are you being so serious? Or, let it go, ease off. They're very good at that. We have a very jovial and open relationship, but it's just understanding that yes, I'm coming in here to be a manager, to make sure these things get done, and how to just that switch. It really takes that time, because if I go straight from one to the other, I'm usually off. But if I have that break in between, it gives me that time to like let go of one and pick up the other.
Okay, that's incredibly smart, because my next question actually was going to get to, you're doing two full-time jobs. How do you look after yourself to do the self-care to do that? Because when you're going long term, you need to do, with that much intensity, you do need to do some self-care.
Right.
And so the
Well,
fact you take that hour
uh,
is huge.
right. And what I had to learn, because early on, of course, just even before starting the F5, just managing the studio, and you know, when I became the manager, we took the studio from, we were at a very small business level to like one of the upper level martial arts schools. Um, and the owner, John, he sometimes he had to get on me because I would be here 12 hours a day sometimes, just managing here and figuring things out. And it was very important. He used to tell me, it's like, it's very important for you to take time off. I just did a self-analyzation one time where I was tired, but I was here and I was still trying to keep working, and just realizing it took me 2 to 3 times as long to get whatever I was trying to do done. If I was to take a break or take a nap or just sit and refresh and come back, it got done like that. So it took that self-analyzation to say, like, me being tired or working in the wrong mind space is not benefiting anyone, especially me. It's just going to take me a lot longer. So the world's not going to end if I take an hour, 2 hours, or, sometimes if I just have to say, I have to sleep on this for tonight and get it done in the morning. The world's not going to end, and trust in yourself that you're going to be able to come back and be able to handle it. And I think it helped. It helped me with that mindset. So, like I said, with the mind frame of just being a manager and working like insane amount of hours to try and get this done, to being able to transition into running two businesses and saying, I just have to really block my time a lot better and make sure one does not bleed into the other too much.
Well, and not just two businesses, but that's a lot of people would go, "Oh my God, how do you make an hour?" Right? Some
Yeah.
people might say, "Okay, I'll take 5 minutes to depressurize." No, no, no. You do need that time to
Mhm.
shift mind space.
Right.
So I'm incredibly impressed that you built that discipline in, because a lot of people don't think they can make that time. They don't realize that if they don't, it's actually going to take more time, as you've said.
Right. I break it down like this. If you take an hour for yourself, that's going to save you 3 hours later on.
Yeah. And you've
And time
shown
is
it to
money.
yourself. Yeah, and I do that with my coaching clients all the time, right? And they say, no, 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 I can't take breaks. And I say, okay, do it for 1 week. Actually take a lunch, get up from your desk and go outside.
Oh, yeah, that's
Take a
so important.
break morning and afternoon. And I will bet you're going to be more productive in that week. And every time they come back sheepish and go, yeah, right. But you figured it out yourself. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed, because most people are so caught in the stress of that, their
Mhm.
brains aren't working enough to figure that out.
Right. And I think to be a good manager or to be an owner of a business, which is both, you have to be able to pull yourself out to be able to see long term. or to see further ahead than what your staff is doing. Because if you're there just grinding it out every day, you're living in that moment and you're not able to really set your goals and predict and work towards the future. So if you ever want to grow, you actually do have to be able to pull yourself out of it a little bit. One of the big things to look at too is like, can you afford to take, like, we're going into the new business, it was, can I afford to take 2 months off of here and help grow the other business, and then be able to come back in and see no loss in profit, or see no loss, no lull in the team. And it wasn't that I was able to take a huge amount off, but I was able to take off enough time that I can focus on growing the social media business, or being able to work that route. For me, it took a lot of doubling down on managing the team and understanding like really how to manage and structure them. And a lot of times in the fitness industry or in the martial arts field, we have an ego where we think, okay, like, nobody teaches a class as good as I can. We all have that chip on our block, and understanding that when you train your team, even though they may not do it exactly like you, they're going to have their own style, their own flair. And I've done consulting with other martial arts schools and other martial arts businesses, and told them the same things. Like, you have to let your team go, let them handle it. They will be fine. Your members are going to like them. Give them the support and resources that they need. And that's going to allow you to be able to say, take a breather, take some time off, sit back and relax and watch them do it. So it's important.
Well, that ego is a big thing. Like, when you say to take 2 months away, a lot of people don't want to do that and go, oh, it's still running without me. Right? Because it's part, but it's realizing if your team is running it, that's because of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And that's a pat on the back. That's a huge pat on the back.
Yeah.
Because, running a team is like adult daycare some days.
A good leader should be able to step back, and people don't notice. It's not about micromanaging.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, when I worked the job, I had a boss that was kind of like, oh, it's like, I never want to be like that. I never want to have somebody just over me all the time, But I understood being in that position too, like, oh my God, if I let them do this, they're going to get the billing wrong, or this is going to go bad, or the class is not going to be as exciting. But no, it's like I said, take a chip out of the ego, step back, take a deep breath, and watch them shine.
And sometimes he'll do better than you.
Yes.
Now, I'm curious, this just popped into my head. What have you learned from teaching martial arts that has helped you become a better manager and leader?
From teaching martial arts to become a better manager, it's understanding a little bit of psychology of people and how they learn. Some people are visual, some people are auditory, some people have to do repetitions over and over. And everybody's a little bit different, and understand like your management style has to adapt towards each individual person if you want them to be able to grow and to shine, So if you have one structured way of teaching a technique or talking to your team and they're not getting it, the problem's not with them, the problem's with you. And you really got to address that with yourself and say, maybe I'm not explaining it the right way. Maybe I'm not showing them the right way. Maybe I'm not connecting to them in the right way. So, and you see it when you're training somebody on the floor. If it's a certain movement or a certain technique and you're working with them on, they're just not getting it. It's just like, okay, maybe I'm not explaining it the right way. Let me try in terms of this. For example, if I had somebody who was into golfing and they wanted to learn how to punch better, I would try to explain it. If then again, I would try to explain it in terms of their golf swing, or sometimes, and we have kids who have, on the spectrum or slightly autistic and different ways. You may not be able to touch them to say, okay, put your hand exactly here, but you just have to just do it with them over and over. Just stand right next to them and just do it over and over. And they learn from just visually watching and repeating. And some people like take better cues with just audio saying, hey, great job, keep it up, hand a little higher. So understanding that when teaching other people and applying that towards management and managing the team, that was a huge, huge thing for me.
Okay, and that is massive because people don't realize that, even if you're leading a team, you're really leading them one at a time because they're all so unique.
Right. And a lot of times too, you got to take, if the fault a lot of times lies within myself, if something happened or something did not go right, I tend to look into myself first to say, did I show them the proper technique or what it took to fix to handle this problem? And the second question I asked myself is, did I empower them to handle that situation? And if no on any one of those, then the fault lies with me, and I just have to step back and say, okay, let's rebrand this. Let's train the team a little bit better. Let's, where did I mess up at so that I can help make sure that they have a better experience. And that way they feel empowered, they feel stronger, they feel supported. And if situations do happen in the future, they are able to take and handle those more so.
So this is all these things that you're telling me. I got to tell you, I am incredibly impressed because the being able to take your ego out and being able to grow your team and adapt to them and ask, what am I doing? There's very few leaders that will do that intuitively. What is it that I'm doing that's not getting across? This tells me you've done a lot of personal exploration work and personal growth work.
Yes, I have.
So
That's big.
can you share a bit of that journey? Because I can hear that because it comes through so clearly in what you're saying that you're willing to look at yourself without feeling attacked.
Yeah, the personal development and personal growth work. I mean, if you want to look at it as some the eyes of martial arts, you have monks or monks training. So one of the things about Kung Fu that originally got us started is that it wasn't about really self-defense at first. It was 12 exercises they developed so that they could sit and meditate longer. Meditation does take time. If you try sitting in a cross-legged position for more than like 20-30 minutes, your body's going to ache. And it wanted to get up to doing like 2, 3, 4 hours to get better enlightenment. So that in the basis of itself, as far as martial arts goes. So I wanted to grow, and it reached a point where no matter what I did physically, it wasn't really going to benefit me. The only way to grow would be to grow mentally and to look within myself. And it took breaking down those walls. Now, for me, I did, I went to a Tony Robbins seminar. I looked up several different motivational speakers, went through that aspect of it. Learning to meditate was huge. And that, once again, that took me years. Yeah. I've been working on meditation for about a good 4 or 5 years.
That's why they call it a practice.
Yes, it is a practice. And it was only in the last year, 2 years that I could say I really started to get it. Before it was frustrating. You try to do I tried to do 20 minutes at a time, and that didn't work. So I keep cutting back to I start off with 1 or 2 minutes. So the active meditation and just finding the right time that works for me. Sometimes I would try early in the morning and I'll fall back to sleep, or late at night I'll fall asleep, or middle of the day it was too hot or just too many things were going on. So you had to really massage it and find those areas for yourself. But understanding that I stuck with it because I knew that like I said, the body can't go without the mind. And for me to grow as a person, as a leader in business or anything else like that, I had to get my mind to another level. And like I said, for me, one of the biggest things was doing the meditation and open myself up to that and being vulnerable with myself and talking to people more. That was a huge thing as well too, letting out those inconsistencies or those thoughts, patterns about yourself. What am I not good at? I said, it took stepping away from the ego a little bit to understand that you're not good at everything. You're going to have your faults, and these are what your faults are. These are the things that you need to change, or these are the things that you need to adapt, and really, really addressing them. I think, and I credit art. Going through art was one of the big things that helped, because you would get an assignment where you would say I want you guys to bring a drawing of a tree, but I want that tree to look sad. Well, how would you draw a tree and make it look sad? You had to go within yourself, open a couple doors that you probably closed from your childhood, of things that made you sad. And you have to open them up, look at them, analyze them, and say, okay, what about that aspect of it made me sad, so that I can express that on a page in charcoal or in paint or anything like that. So I think that creative thinking, and like I said, just that creative thinking outside of the box, to go there, turning that on myself was pretty huge for me. And like I said, I tried the Tony Robbins, Les Brown. I love listening to Les Brown, his speeches and his talks. Mel Robbins, she's another one that I like listening to a lot. So all of these people, they kind of, Simon Sinek, I love
Yeah.
that guy too. So I have a lot of people that I listen to, and like I said, taking myself back, just understand that I don't know everything. I have a lot to grow. I have a lot to learn. And even when I learn something, I may decrease it somewhere else. So I have to always kind of like keep working around to keep a balance.
There's always more to learn.
There's always.
You know, the best leaders that I've ever met are the ones that say, "Okay, what more? What more?" You never get there. The thing is, though, you see, to me, corporate culture is something a lot of people talk about. The simple English is it's the way you work,
Hmm.
right? And there's hard data that shows it's shaped by leadership.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of people looking, how do I grow my business? And one of the leverage points is nothing to do with the marketing, nothing to do with what you do there. It's about going inside and doing exactly what you did. And the result, there's someone here, Robert has posted that the result, this is what they see.
Hmm.
The top instruction, supportive and friendly environment, amazing customer service is why he chose you over other competitors. And it's you and your team that are the reason why. But that I can see finds its roots in that discipline that you have, that you've made that time to do, even though you're bonkers and doing two full-time jobs, running business.
I think
So
managing yourself is a full-time job as well. So that's why you got to take time to actually handle that. So
I love that.
yeah.
But you've got it. It's a priority, right? Even if you've got two full-time jobs.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, let's say you could talk to the you that was graduating from that fine art school or that fine arts degree. What's the advice you would give him?
Wow, that's a good one. I think the biggest advice I would give myself at that point would be okay with your failures because they're not going to be failures. None of them are going to stop you. So go ahead and take those risks. Don't let them fret. Don't worry about them too much. You know, you're going to be okay as long as you take those risks.
Yeah, I love that. Now, one of the things that's happened in the last 3 months with the pandemic is, it's turned business on its ear.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are going, okay, can't do it this way, can't I don't know what. How did you adapt through this time with your two businesses that you're leading, um, in terms of moving forward? Because your studio must have shut down, I'm sure,
Right.
for time.
For us, just with the studio itself, just being able to throw everything online, at a quick turnaround, a quick pace. Um, Understood I had a basic of the understanding of some technology, so that part of it wasn't too hard. It was really how do you get people inspired to want to keep training or to want to work out, through a visual space. It's a lot different than when you're in class
Right.
and you're surrounded by people. That's motivation. No, that's huge. People come in, used to come in for the camaraderie. But what happens when you don't have that camaraderie? How can we translate that? So, once again, I went back into work mode, even though the studio had shut down and there were stay-home orders. I came into the studio just to be outside of the house, to understand that my zone is different into that work mode. And I will put in 12 to 14, 16 hours. I would study other martial arts schools, what they were putting up as far as their work goes, and tweaking it to fit us and to understand, like, how can we be better? What can I do differently? How do I coach this? And at first I was coaching just about all the classes except for the kids classes. I have a program instructor who is amazing. I mean, that kid's a protege. Um, but teaching the adult classes through that space and tweaking and trying and really putting that effort and that work, it took me back to like my first days of training here. You know, you got to have that zest for trying something new and just working with it and having that energy about it. Like, okay, like you saw somebody throw a cool kick, and I'm going to teach you how to throw this cool kick. How do you bring that across,
Yeah.
in video format? How do you get them so amped up about it? And the main thing was because I was amped up about it. Even though I may have done this kick like 1,000 times, I was teaching it to you, and I'm bringing it back to like what it was for me to do it the first time, and how special I felt, and how wonderful I felt, and the challenges I had with it. So, um, when we were able, like after a month or so, we were able to bring the team back in. One of the things that I expressed to them was that now's the time where, if you are a basic or a regular instructor, you're not going to make it. Now's the time for leaders to shine, and leaders are going to show up when they're able to convey. Like, you're not one dimensional anymore. Now you have to be in this space. You have to be able to function
Yeah.
in that world. So, and then as we reopen, being able to still keep that intensity, that love, that passion, we're able to dictate through this and then bring it back in. So people are coming back to us with a new experience. They're taking the classes and they're more intense. They're a little bit faster. They're a little bit hyper. The instructors are love giving them a little bit more. So that was, some of the things for us. It was definitely about change. If you did not change anything before this pandemic to after, um, I think you wasted that time.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion. I'm not saying it's not for everybody, but definitely for myself and my team and this business in itself. You got to understand that the world's changed, and it's probably never going to change back. And
Right.
I want to be ahead of that curve. And John and I, decided that we were going to double down. We're going to, instead of contracting, we're going to expand. We're going to push for more. We're going to put ourselves out there, do more marketing, do more budgeting. Really, really work with the team to see like what's the biggest potential we can pull out of them, and help them see the light at the end of the tunnel too.
So I've got a couple of questions that come out of that. Number one is, what were some of the things? Because there's a lot of business owners that are having to work this way now with their people. And even though you were teaching martial arts, what were a couple of the things that you found worked to motivate them through the virtual that may not have been things you thought of before?
A couple of things that worked was the pre-interaction. So before something started, before you went on live with the video, getting on some 20 or 30 minutes or sending them a message, just saying, hey, finding out like how their day was, so that interaction where you can't see them and you can't talk to them throughout the day, but finding out like, how their day was. If they did something last week, hey, how did that go? Did you go for that new job interview? How is it teaching? Because the kids are staying home now. So how is that working out for you? So taking a little bit more general interest in themselves and what's going on, and helping them problem solve too. So I did have some people that would, when after talking to them, we would take that interest in them afterwards and say, you know, this is something that I think may work for you. Or how about we do a private one-on-one, online, just to get you acclimated, to get you ready for it, get you pumped up for it. So um, that was one of the big things that I learned. Another big thing I learned is time is a lot more precious. Before, we used to do um, classes that were like an hour long. And when you were going to an office and then the only other place that you went to was home, taking an hour to go work out for yourself was awesome. But when you had to stay home and you have to do everything that you did for work, teach your kids, cook, clean, that hour is no longer there. So we have to understand the value of time a little bit better, and saying, okay, well, we have to shorten the time, but we've got to make sure they get everything in within that time. So we cut our classes from an hour to 30 minutes,
Okay.
but it was 30 minutes of intensity. It was 30 minutes of helping them forget about everything else that they have to do and just focus in on the screen, turn up the music, follow the instructor. We're sweating with you, we're going, through it all. So
Yeah.
understanding that value of time, and taking people's time very personally for yourself as well.
And then it's with some of the comments, it certainly showed there that someone who didn't think they'd like virtual, but you made it feel like you, you were there for them and
Yeah.
kept it pumped up. The now and also the other question that I had, maybe to sort of wrap things up, because you just said you and John got decided, and he thinks a lot of you, obviously here, uh, that you're gonna, you're not gonna just wait and see what happens. You're gonna run and deal with this, right? But
Mhm.
when things really hit and it shut down, there must have been a bit of a time when you went, oh. Like, and if you can sort of go back to that time, how did you come through that? I know, you may brush by that in your memory now, but I'm sure there was a bit of time where you're going, oh my God, we don't know what's going to happen. how do we deal with this? How did you get through that? Say, no, we're going to go this way.
It was, the fear thinking of like, okay, this can close, or this can never reopen. I think that the biggest thing for me during that moment or during that time, it feels like a moment, but I'm sure it was like for several hours. It just probably like sat here on the floor and just said, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." Just thinking that everything that you work for and everything that you put in could just stop at this moment. Was the thing, you thought bad about yourself for about like I said, for me, a couple hours, and then thinking like, what got me through it was just remembering our members, our customers, these people that we promised something to. Just because a pandemic happened and I can no longer see you doesn't mean that your dream has to stop or your goal has to stop. And that is what pulled me into thinking ahead and saying, I have to keep this service going for them. Obviously for me too, it helps, gives me something to do instead of like, sitting around. But no, thinking about them and putting them first, putting the members and what we do for them ahead was what helped pull me out. But like I said, for those few hours, the dark time of it was just like, all right, what else can I do? Well, I have management experience, and maybe I can get a management job someplace else, or or anything else. I'm gonna fall back on our social media skills or anything like that. But like I said, I was only there for about an hour or two, and that click, that light bulb, just remembering what we do for other people, how we affect them, what it means to them to have us in their corner and help push them along was huge. And that went for both sides. That wasn't just for the martial arts, but that's also for the social media business. We didn't talk much about that, but we did have a couple clients that were with us, and they were like, oh, we don't want to post anymore. We don't want to do anything. And we were like, actually, we promise you a product. It wasn't about the money. It was really about delivering on our promise to them. And, you can't sit there and be like, woe is me, when you're trying to show that.
So you had to pick up and coach your clients.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, listen, social media business is almost 100% about coaching your clients, because it's a small business. We focus on small business with this. And most people are too busy running their business to understand social media or get involved with social media. So trying to tell them like, hey, we have to post 3 times a week. We have nothing to post about. It's like, oh yeah, you do. Letting them understand, like coming to their business with fresh eyes, and then helping them understand like, you have so much here, so much to do with it, being creative with them. It took a lot. There was a lot of coaching in our clients.
That is cool.
I know I got this. Just watch me do this.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. And if you found it of value, could I ask you a favor? Could you share it on social media and perhaps share what made it so useful to you? That's how we spread word about this. And if you've got a moment, if you could go onto iTunes or wherever you get your podcast and do a quick review on this and share again what made it so useful to you. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Running 'cause I don't know where to go. Walking will just take too long and I can take it slow. I'll keep on pushing 'cause I know I'll take it farther. And everyone that knows me knows that I am stronger. Leave it all behind, I don't need nothing to distract me.